Good morning and good afternoon in London. My guest today is Thomas Fairey, CEO of Stakester. Thanks for connecting and talking about email. I know it's not in the mainstream for Stakester, but welcome.
Well, actually, thanks so much for inviting me on. Look, and it's a pleasure to be here. It is at the
It
core of what
is.
we do, but yeah, it
Yes.
is. It is. Yeah, it is.
Why?
So,
Why and how?
well, let me tell you. So, look, I am a bit of background. I've been a fan of email marketing for the whole of my career. So, I started off working in investment banking, and then I worked in sales.
Hmm.
And when I was in sales, I'd always say to people like, the power of cold email will change your life,
Yeah.
and certainly it really will. And then it's going on from there. When I was involved in my last company helped start, there was email marketing took us to the point where we'd sold to every major bank within 2 years. And
Really?
then now with Stakester, it's our most cost efficient acquisition channel by a margin. So and also my big thing about it is I raised $400,000 with
Yeah.
cold emails,
With
with
cold
an email
emails.
marketing
Yeah.
campaign.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's
So
how I
yeah,
discovered you, is that story.
I
Wow.
will bang the email marketing drum until it breaks. Yeah.
And I love hearing that for like such a cutting edge thing is what you and the team have built at Stakester. You're out on the edge of e-games and digital relationships, and it's this relatively old channel that's been around a long time is still integral to it.
Absolutely integral. And I think it's so people are always looking for the newest way to do something.
Hmm.
Okay. And the analogy I give my team all the time is that people use dating apps all the time, to try and get a date. But ultimately, like, just being nice to people is going to get you more dates than anything else, right? And that's just good old fashioned,
Yeah.
just being a good guy, right, or girl, and that's what's going to work, making people feel special. And the medium you use to do it doesn't matter, right? So there are so many things that we do that's still perfectly formed and work incredibly well.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that I say to my team, I'm on email more than anything else during the
Yeah.
day every day.
Right. Right. Interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Interesting.
Like, people talk about how much time you spend on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing in comparison to how much time I spend sat at my desk writing email. Okay. Also, when an email pops up on your phone, you read it.
Well,
Okay.
I was late for that. I was late because I had a computer crash, and I thought
Yeah.
this guy will actually be on his email, so I'm going to email him right quick because he's sorry, I got to reboot. I'll be right there.
Yeah.
Lifesaver.
And if you send me an ad on Facebook, I probably wouldn't read it.
Yeah, yeah, probably right. Yeah, so email's got that sort of constant presence thing that almost
Yeah.
very few, if any, other channels have. What do you think about text and mobile? How do you compare that as a
Yeah,
channel?
it's a really good question. It's not something we've tested. Now we do push notifications,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Yes, we do. But in terms of like text and stuff, we haven't tested it loads. You know, it's not something that we've really pushed. Pun intended, but it's something that we should look into. But I think because we get such great results with email,
Yeah.
we're working with it. But the other great thing about email that people don't seem to appreciate is how cheap it is. Yeah, like sending an email costs you nothing,
Yeah.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
and if you use a great product, for my email campaign to raise money, I use GMass, which
Yep.
is
I know it. Yeah.
it's a native product within Gmail, which allows you to send an email which looks like it's come from
From you.
you individually rather than from a
Yeah.
mail merchant.
Yeah.
And what was great about that was that it just cost me literally nothing. It saved me so much time.
Hmm.
I genuinely spent, I think, in total, the amount of time I spent doing outreach, including writing the email, getting the list, because I outsourced the build of the list,
Wow.
took me 4 hours.
Wow, that's a high hourly
$100,000
rate,
an hour.
Paul.
Yeah.
$100,000 an hour, high hourly rate. What?
Now, of course, that doesn't include the pitching, but like the actual initial outreach to start the conversation,
Yeah,
that was it.
and would have got nowhere without the initial outreach. And how recently did you close that round?
I closed that in June last year.
Okay.
Yeah, I closed that in June last year. It's just coming up for a year since I closed that deal.
It. I feel like I skipped past the punchline. Would you do at least the elevator version of Stakester? You know what you do, who uses it, so someone listening goes, "Ooh, I got to find out more about that."
Yeah, sure, really easy. So what we do is we if you think that you're good at something, particularly in game, if you think you're good at FIFA or Madden or you're good at like NHL, then put your money where your mouth is, play me, and we'll play for something. Okay? So, like back in the day when you might be playing a bit of pool in pool hall, you'd be like, all right, I'll put $10
darts.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever, like, or if you're racing, like me and my buddies, like, if we're having a running race, I'm the worst. I'll be like, I'm faster than you, mate. I'll put down $10 and we're going to win this. And we're in the entertainment business, not in the gambling business. So, gambling is putting money on an outcome you can't control. Right. We're like, that's stupid to me. What we're in the business of, raising the stakes and making it a bit more entertaining. And the fact is, like, if you play for something, it's more exciting. Science fact, right? Okay. But there's something on the line, it means something a bit more. And so that's how we play together.
Nice.
And so we add a bit of spice, and that's what we do.
Yeah, nice. Has the pandemic been good for business?
It's really awkward because you got a lot of people have died, and a lot of people really suffered from lockdown. But damn, it's been good for us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just been like, as you can imagine, people are home gaming.
People are home gaming. Yeah, I was thinking that when I was just reading up on the business a bit, going, oh, that's cool. And I love and agree with the psychological insight. This sort of a little
Can
bit.
I pause 2 seconds? My door's just rung. My doorbell. Did you hear my dog go mad?
Go for it. Yeah.
I'll give you the time back. Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, no worries. We can edit that bit out, can't we? Yes, we can. Okay.
Mac. Okay, sorry. That's the problem with Amazon. You never know when they're coming.
Right. Yeah. Speaking of pandemic, good for business. And I agree with you. It's like you don't want to be lighthearted about the suffering that's still going on with this, but it's definitely kicked us at least 5 years into the future.
Oh, 100%. And I think, again, that's where email marketing has been great because we've had a more captive audience.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Again,
right,
more people at a time, more people at the desk getting emails coming in.
Yeah.
People, and also like, it's one of those things where most people, well, this is the other thing as well. I always think when people are migrating away from a form of communication, people are like, oh no, I need to move over into trying to find ways to advertise through Slack or whatever.
Yeah.
And my mantra on that is that says that just means it's quieter where you're coming in. Yeah. So fewer emails are being sent because it's more being sent by Slack. That means when my email comes through, it's going to get noticed.
Yeah. Yes. I have never bought the Slack's gonna replace email, and I don't think they buy it anymore either themselves. It's like the day I see, oh, you need a password reset, put your blah blah blah, we'll send you a message. The day I see that, I'll start buying it. It's not going to happen, right?
I don't.
My home address on the net is my email address. It's not that complicated, right?
Yeah,
it's there. It's and as you said, nobody controls it. You don't have to ask a gatekeeper for permission. No one's changing the rate. It's cheap because it's a set of standards, and if you want to switch ESPs, go from GMAS to whatever you're using at larger scale now, like okie dokie, you're free to do that. You don't have to ask for permission, right? You're in control of it.
Correct.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a huge range to the customers at Stakester, but you can reasonably assume that's one of the things they have in common. You want to be a customer, you probably have an email address, don't you?
Well, they sign up with it. So so that's there you go. That's it.
Yeah, default.
I think exactly. So someone says to me when I was thinking about coming to the show, and you're talking about what's the future of email marketing? How's it going to change over time?
Yeah.
And it's really I tried to consider that because I look back and I was thinking, okay, so let me look at this and see how my emails have changed over the past. I've been working for 15 years in the industry, and I look back and I looked at the first email I sent to JP Morgan in 2005 asking them for a job, right? Okay. I looked at that and I looked at the email that I sent to someone in 2019 asking them for money to invest in my business.
No change.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Literally it's literally like establish credibility, gain interest, call to action. That's all it is, right? That's all it is. And then I look at it this far and I'm like, so you're thinking, what is the future of email marketing? I'll tell you what it is. It's the same. It's like people, if the way people communicate changes, if the way that we have a conversation is different, then maybe. One thing I have noticed over the course of time is a decrease in formality.
Concurred.
So, back then it was dear. Now it's hey. It was kind regards. Now it's like Slaters. It's like it's a very different style of signature, right? But it's like different. The tone is different, and that's what happens when something becomes more commonplace. It becomes more relaxed, the language. But other than that, there's no difference. Genuinely, 15 years on, no difference at all.
Yeah, it's it's a conversational media to a considerable extent. How we write an email is not how we write, not who writes memos anymore, but right, it's increasingly informal, fragmented, conversational. If you write someone an email this long, they're not going to read it.
They're not reading it. I say this all the time. Yeah, exactly. Just longer than 4 lines, probably not worth sending. Yeah. The other thing as well is about it is that interesting about email is that how it's evolved slightly is that, and I love what you said there about the nature of it being like a memo. If someone starts the second email in a chain with "Hi Tom," if you send that the same day, you don't need to say that. You're like, because you're like, oh hey Matthew, blah 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 blah. When you send the follow up, you don't say "Hi Tom" again. You just say, "Yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes."
Right.
It becomes a conversation. That's changed over time. It's become
it's changed partially in that the ubiquity, right? We know we've got an email address. We know we've got like 62 clients to get to that same email address. It's like it becomes a long running conversation, if you will. And you're right. You don't say I don't say hi to my wife. 2 minutes after I said good morning to her, she'd be like, smack, right? What? Yeah, we're already having this conversation. You don't need to greet me again. Thanks very much. Done. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, one of the reasons to set up this podcast is, our company, Campaign Genius, is coming in saying we can actually innovate inside email. Like we can change the content that's in your inbox in real time, which is a bit of a jaw dropper for people. Technologically, the underpinnings have been there for a long time, but it's a bit of a jaw dropper because it doesn't fit the mental model of email at all. You're like, what? I can change an email after I've sent it? Yeah, right. And I concluded that one of the reasons it's been slow going, getting engagement with this, is because we're so used to how it works. We've got such a clear mental model of how email works that the notion of using it differently is it's like, why would you bother? Well, there's a bunch of reasons, right? Do I want to get an email showing the current score of the game I'm in the middle of with someone, right, on Stakester, rather than what the score was when the email was sent? That's just an example.
That's cool.
We could do that. Cool. Yeah, but doesn't fit the mental model of email very well.
Yeah, it's true. It doesn't. Because once you read it, you don't go back to them, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's the other thing, thesis. I'm curious to hear your reaction to. I look at other digital channels, other media, and we're in this big, long, slow shift to more and more media. The native language of the printing press was text. I don't know that the native language of digital is text. I think that's part of it, but I think you look at what people do with GIFs, you look at what people do with screenshots, you look at what people do with game scores and taking that moment in a game where you capped some guy. Like, it's visual, it's rich, it's not all writing anymore, because we've now got the communication tool I can send you a picture as easily as I can send you written text, and you'll actually process that faster and differently than the written text. Reactions?
Yeah, so my theory on this is communication is basically directly proportional. The method, is directly proportional to the amount of effort necessary to do it. Okay, so the reason that if you look, Twitter was the fastest growing platform over the course of lockdown, with the exclusion of Clubhouse, but that was only for like 25 minutes, so it didn't work.
Yeah, with you there.
But the reason that it was is because the effort level was so low with Twitter. You just have to just spread it out. You don't have to get yourself looking good before you take that photo. It's really easy to do. And so that's why I think it did so well, because people want to do things quickly with effort, as little effort as possible. Initially, the printer press is a great example, because initially it was done purely text, because to print a photo was very complicated. Over time, people added more photos because it was easier to do so.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to. It's just proportional to that. And because of that, I don't think text will ever become below 70% of content.
Interesting.
Because it is always going to be the one that is easiest for you to do. Okay.
So wait, hold that one for a second. Let's have a healthy argument. Here's my concern about that. The economy of production, what's easy for me to do, to create, to put out, doesn't do a whole lot for the economy of consumption. It's easy for me to, blather something off on the keyboard and send it to 1,000 people, but I just tied up 1,000 people with blather. Or if I say I'm going to write this really long thing and they're not going to read it, waste of time as well. And frankly, we don't process, read, scan, view the stuff we're getting already.
Yeah.
Because there's too much of it. And it's too easy to copy and duplicate. And now you got freaking AIs writing email. Seriously.
Yeah.
Email documents, etc. And I'm like, oi, wow, holy, what do we do that gets the point across so that it's read? Not is it easy to write? Is it easy to read? And I don't mean read in the literal sense. I mean read in the information transferred, communication made sense.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think if you think about the human psyche, you can only consume so much information. Okay, you can consume a lot, but you can only consume so much. And so that's why, when you are walking down the road, one day you might notice something for the first time, and you've walked down the road 30,000 times. That's just the nature. You're just not taking on that information.
Yeah.
And so at the other end, the consumption of that information is always going to be a product of the quality of the information that comes through and how easy it is to consume.
Yes.
But then again, it has to have that balance between that needs to be easy to create. Yeah. The reason that I think the text will continue to be the predominant factor as well is, carrying on from that, is that I can refine it much more easily than I can refine a photo.
Yeah.
Or a video.
Yeah.
So this is what we're doing now. If we record this, okay, if we get to the end of this and we're like, oh my God, that guy cussed like 20 times, that guy, it was awful. That takes a lot longer to do than me doing a Control F on a document and just taking out the F's and the Okay, so it's easy to redo.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Okay, so that's easy to do, and you can change your argument, you can restructure it much easier.
Yeah.
And also, when I consume that information, it's re-listening to something is a greater amount of effort than rereading something.
That's true.
Okay. So, when you're on a podcast, how many times do you rewind something on a podcast?
Yeah.
When you're listening to it?
Never.
How many times have you reread a sentence?
Right. Or how many times, to your same point, actually, to what are the virtues of text, if you will, is the skim scan, we're experimenting with a system that's going to take this recording of the two of us talking, and 10 minutes after we're done, it'll have the transcript tied to the video, which is cool. Yeah. I'm going to give her a plug. Perfect Recall is the name of the app. The entrepreneur behind it did a heck of a job. And I was like, this is awesome. Why? Because I can laser in on that part of the conversation with Thomas. Here we're getting really meta. On that part of the conversation with Thomas where he said, it's so much easier to Control F and get rid of I'll be able to scan through visually and go, there it is right there. Listening for that would be mind-numbing, right? Be like,
so much better. Exactly. So this is the thing. So now, look, technology might make that easier. You might be able to say, find the section. I could probably ask Alexa now, and she could probably find the right content faster. But the truth of it, at the moment, we're not there. And over time, that might change.
Yeah.
Okay? It might change. But I think, as long as it is the easiest form of communication will always be the greatest form of communication.
Yeah, well put. Which may be one of the reasons emails still so ubiquitous. It's me emailing you to say, computer crash. It was effortless, send.
That's it.
Done, right?
That's it.
done. And I think it was just a subject line. I don't think I even put anything in the body of the
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly, yeah. As an investor, I'm particularly interested in what I call regression tech. So things that we'll be doing that go back to initial models. So like we did analysis within our company over how many video calls we were doing at the beginning of lockdown and how many went to audio at the end of lockdown. Yeah.
And?
Audio's the biggest rising one by far because people just like to walk and talk. So we have a policy now to get people moving where we're like, if you don't need to look at someone, just go for a walk and call them. Yeah. And what's that technology? That's 1920s Alexander Bell technology. You know what I mean? It's it's like, and I love that. I'm like, give me some, just make the sound quality better, make it easy for me to do that, make it easy for me to switch between the two.
Yeah.
You know, those kind of things are really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Give me a way that when I'm having this conversation, it's like, for example, I was saying something the other day, when I was writing content for my blog, I was like, God, I wish I just had like a dictaphone or something. I could play it and do it. But well, regression tech is now someone does it for you. So I just talk and then they write it up.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of thing, right? So those kind of things I think is where, again, I just don't think that email and text and so forth will ever die out as long as it's easy to consume. Cool. And also it's so non-intrusive. Yeah.
True. That's true.
I can write an email and an article in my pants. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't do a podcast in my pants.
Yeah. Well, go back to the audio thing for a second. I want to intersect this back to Stakester a little bit. I was intrigued. I know they abandoned it, but I was intrigued that, at least on a rumor basis, Microsoft was poking around Discord a couple of weeks ago. Like, it's an audio channel. What are you guys doing looking at well, because people talk, and it's an effortless way to communicate, and it's an important one.
Well, Discord's text mainly, but then people do call on it now since growing. But yeah, they are. I can see where they're sniffing around because it's just a really high growth area. But the reason it's so interesting is because, again, you don't do it on video. You just do it you just start talking to people. That's why I think Clubhouse did so well, so short lived. But unfortunately, like it was just. I don't think it's going to do very well.
I don't know how you put a moat around Clubhouse. Like technically, you know.
I don't know why it's different to. It's just like. It's just radio, yeah. But the problem is, it's just there's no vetted. It's like people say to me, "Yeah, you should make your podcast live." No, I should do a radio show. It's the same freaking thing.
Yeah.
What's the difference? Yeah, be like, but Clubhouse. Yeah, I just don't think. I think the problem is the quality of content. Curation will always be king when it comes to content. If you can't find the best stuff easily, the platform will die.
Yeah. Because and that casual drop-in casual thing at Clubhouse, it's an odd intersect with quality, right? Because I mean, it may be great that so and so is going to show up and talk, but did they spend any time really planning out, thinking through what they're going to say, or are they just going to show up and yammer? And when I listen to a recording a year later, it's going to be like, well, that was crap. I don't want to listen to that again. Right.
Exactly
so hard to create quality. By contrast, you got Netflix pouring, zillions into creating quality content as a moat. We're looking at the clock. I think you've got to drop right.
I've got to go. But like, this has been really great, and I really enjoyed this, Matthew. I think it's a really important area. I don't know if you want me to share some of my top email marketing tips.
It was delightful. Thanks so much for making the time.
Yeah, thanks so much for inviting me on. I enjoyed it.
I'll send you the recording when we got it wrapped up.
Fantastic, Ben. Thanks so much.
Yes, once again, Thomas Fairey, founder of Stakester. Thanks, Thomas.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Bye.